We're actually taking a stop and a detour to come by Allen's farm because it relays for us in hopes that we can relay to you a very important message about where we are in the state of Maryland. I think it was about 2 weeks ago when Matt Adams actually gave me a call about this and asked me, what do you know about PMT, Eastside Index, phosphorus requirements, nitrogen, phosphorus in an effort to clean up the Chesapeake Bay? What do you know about this, Charles? I said, well, I know a little bit about it. In fact, I know enough to be able to articulately explain why we don't need the rain tax, why it's a waste of our dollars, and why it's nothing more than a political football to help cover teaching pensions from unfunded mandates pressed upon counties by the state's leadership. But Matt said, no, Charles, it's more than that. Let me send you some information. Well, Cheryl, after that, I got a stack of information by email that came straight to my box as I began to continue to educate myself more and more. It wasn't long before I called Matt back. I said, Matt, I want to have breakfast with this gentleman. I want to sit down and talk to him. I want to find out whether this, from what I'm reading and what I'm seeing, is 100% accurate. Because if it is, to be livid is not even the right word or adjective, or is it adverb? My wife's a teacher, one or the other. Thank you so much. That doesn't begin to explain how I feel. And I could really care less about political correctness, no matter what radio, television, newspaper, whatever form of media there is. We have a problem in our state when real issues for human beings and citizens and their rights are trampled upon in an effort to win an election for the next office for any politician. In my opinion, what is going on the Eastern Shore and Western Maryland in our state, just the outright crimes, I'm gonna call them political criminal activities, to completely shut an industry down should never be an opportunity to win an election. And this is the reason why we do not need full-time politicians in office. They are ruining our country. They're killing our way of life. And I'm saying that realizing that my wife and I are embarking upon an opportunity to serve in that capacity. But the good news for you folks is we don't want to do this full time. We actually like our private lives. We respect and look forward to our personal lives and our personal activities. In fact, our dream, sooner than later, is to get to a cabin in the woods where there's no driveways to get to, so we can live off the fat of the land. But you know what? By then, if we don't do something, we very well may be charged for breathing air at the rate these politicians are going. This PMT study, I'm not even sure if the intentions are good, Alan. I think it's an opportunity. I think it's an opportunity for an administration and for a man to prove that he is as green as he can possibly be, as far left as the sitting president, that is, as he can possibly be, so he can win a primary in 2016. And it's an embarrassment. I think the entire administration ought to go on an apology tour, come straight through the Eastern Shore first, stop right here at Hudson Farm and lend an apology, as well as write a check from their personal incomes for the pain and suffering caused to Alan and his family and his beautiful kids. This is an embarrassment. So I want to turn this into some type of a celebration, because why a celebration? Because I want to celebrate the fact that in spite of the state's usage of his own tax money through the University of Maryland and their law department to sue this man and his farm, in spite of this man having to use his own money and his tax dollars to defend himself, a community of believers in Maryland and America, believers of freedom and the pursuit of happiness, rose up around this family and did all they can to help pull him out of the noose that they used to try to attack this man with many months ago. I say, let's celebrate the citizens of this wonderful county and what they've done for this man to sustain his way of life. But it's not over yet. The reason why we wanted media here certainly wasn't for me. It wasn't for my wife. It wasn't for all these folks with the Achieve the Dream t-shirts on. That's not why we're here. That's not why we asked media to be here. We asked them to be here because we want them to serve notice to every person that will view this through their cameras or read this through their printed text. That here in the state of Maryland, we demand liberty, we demand freedom, and this cronyism and this opportunity to shut down the agricultural industry in this state is going to come to a stop. We're going to put an end to it. And we're not going to let these politicians use color to their advantage to segregate us anymore. We're not going to let them use politics to segregate us anymore. We're not going to let them use gender to segregate us anymore. We're going to serve notice that regardless of skin color, regardless of party affiliation, this move, this harassment of the agricultural industry is absolutely wrong in any party, in any color, in any gender, and we as Maryland citizens, we're going to stand against it. We're going to stand against it. And then I ask this of these career politicians, what will you say then? I wonder what will happen when you can't use your party to your advantage. I wonder what will happen when you can't use skin color to your advantage. I'm sure you're going to try to. Absolutely. Because I see it and hear it all the time. Alan, I was walking through a parade 3 days ago in Montgomery County, a Labor Day parade. I extended my hand to shake a woman's hand in that parade simply to wish her happy Labor Day. That's all I was trying to do. She looked at me, Alan, rolled her eyes at me, and she said, "You're a Republican?" I said, "Yes, ma'am, I am, but I'm just here to wish you a happy Labor Day." She looked back at me, Alan, she said, "I know Dr. King had a dream, but you're not it." This woman knew nothing about me, Alan. She had no idea that I have 4 daughters. I'm alone in my principles at my home because I'm completely surrounded by women. She had no idea I'm married to the most beautiful woman in the world, for crying out loud, for 20 years, and known her for 23. We went to college together. She has no idea that my personal faith and my love of Jesus Christ and my love for this country, none of that mattered. The only thing that mattered to her was my skin complexion and my party affiliation. So if I began to go down the road of this obnoxious PMT measure, this study by some bureaucrats at the University of Maryland, imposing their will on the agricultural industry over 90 miles away, the first thing she'd hear is he's a Republican. She wouldn't hear anything else. She wouldn't hear the fact that this man is out of millions just to defend himself against an outright lie of a law that was trying to be projected against him. And oh, by the way, he won. She wouldn't hear that. She wouldn't hear that. She wouldn't hear the fact that this man has 2 small babies he's trying to raise, and he's not some kind of independently wealthy farmer. He actually, in addition, has a second job just to put food on the table. She wouldn't have heard that. She wouldn't have heard the fact that this man had to use his own money to defend himself, Stephen, against his own tax dollars that was suing him. She wouldn't have heard any of that. The only thing she would have heard is he's a Republican. So as a result, it doesn't matter what he has to say. This, Matt, is what we're at war with. The good news is righteousness is on our side. The good news is, at the end of the day, citizens will rally around what they know is right. And they will do all they can to help farmers like Alan to keep what he works so hard from one generation to the next to ensure he can pass this farm on to his children and his children's children. That's why we wanted you all here. That's why we're glad your media presence is here. Because we want you to report this. Don't report it as politicians want you to report it. I want you to report it as everyday citizens, freedom-loving, pursuit of happiness citizens would read it. That's the only reason why I'm here. I have no political closing. I have no vote for me at the end. None of that matters. But here's what does matter. If you live here, even if you don't live here, if you're a citizen of Maryland, you do all you can to help that man. His fees aren't over. I'm coming to another fundraiser for him. Roche and I are going to put our own dollars behind him and his family. We've made our own commitment to him. I ask you to do the same thing. Thank you so very much.